Survival Hunters and their changes from Legion to BFA. Currently in Legion, Survival Hunter is a very clunky specialization. While some people can perfectly play it, it is one of those specs where you'll invest a lot of time into it, and even if you're the best at it, your damage for the most part will still be somewhat mediocre. It's a hard spec to play with not a high payoff. It has rotations that feel like you're playing 3 different playstyles at the same time, and while you're trying to get these dot playstyle going and a buff playstyle going and this weapon ability combination going, it feels like a lot of your playstyle falls apart. The plates eventually stop spinning and they all go crashing down, and so does the spec of Hunter. Probably one spec that has at most 5 people playing it, the Survival Hunter. In BFA, it is getting turned around. The specialization literally goes from multiple different rotations to literally 4 buttons. Your first one is Serpent Sting. Serpent Sting is an ability away from back in the day, back before dinosaurs came along. 40-yard range, 15 focus. You basically put a dot on an enemy. Can be utilized in cleave and something you can maintain whether you're at melee or at range. Then you have your Wildfire Bomb. You chuck a grenade at an enemy, they burn with fire, radiating fire damage around them. That is how you AoE. It is a dot-based ability, can be used on single target or AoE. Very flexible, again, 40-yard range. Then you have Kill Command. No, this isn't a Beast Mastery Hunter video, this is a Survival Hunter video, and yes, Kill Command. Every Hunter spec has a way to generate focus, so they throw in Kill Command as a focus generator for survival with a 30% chance to immediately reset its cooldown once you use the ability, which gives a little more unpredictability with your rotation and an influx of a lot of resources out of nowhere, which keeps your rotation from becoming stale. And when you're not using any of your abilities, which are all 40-yard range, you are at melee. Yes, you actually do get into melee and you smack the enemy with Raptor Strike, which is your filler ability. You use your resources into it to deal the most amount of damage. You're still a melee class, you're still a melee specialization, but at the same time you're still a hunter. You have a lot of range to your specialization. The best way to take a look at Survival Hunter and understand what the hell happened to it is to take a look at Unholy Death if you've ever played it in Legion, and take a look at what the hell happened to it in Legion. It went from a primarily melee class to a class that has really 2 melee abilities and a lot of ranged based abilities, and even talents that can turn your melee abilities into straight up ranged abilities. I mean, you basically become a plate class with mostly range based abilities, but you're still forced to get into melee to do your real damage and play your mechanic. Survival is very similar to an Unholy Death Knight. You have a pet and you have a lot of flexibility in terms of range of your abilities, but in the end you still need to run into the melee range in order to deal most of your damage. Some people have commented on the fact that Survival Hunter only has 4 abilities, making it a very easy class, compared to the utter train wreck that it ended up being in Legion, and oh my god, I feel for you if you main this class. But I don't feel like I need to go through a massive manual just to figure out how to play a specialization. I can only read at a 3rd grade level, so Blizzard is really turning this specialization down to a level that I can understand. Something else to note about Survival Hunter is Aspect of the Eagle is very different now too. It is still a bursty cooldown at 1.5 minute cooldown, but now what it does is makes your Raptor Strike a 40-yard range ability. No longer do you really have to be constrived. There's probably a word that's better for this, but I can't think of it right now. No longer do you have to be croissanted to a set rotation of, hey, let me stand in melee. Now you have a lot more flexibility. A lot of your abilities have a 40-yard range. A lot of your abilities have a range that of a hunter, which I feel like is a really cool way of maintaining your identity as a hunter, as all the hunters have ranged abilities, but you are a survival hunter, which apparently means you decide to drop your bow, pick up a stick, and go up front and whack the enemy in the face. But instead of being completely full melee, you have a lot of these range capabilities with capability to harpoon in and really slash up at your enemy, which I think does better for the fantasy of the specialization and overall the implementation and utility and actual play style. Before you go on and write the specialization off as one of the easiest specs ever, I do want to take a look at some of the talents, and there's a lot of talents to Survival Hunter that actually change up your gameplay, and not like, oh, let me change my ability from a single target to a cleave. No, this actually has a lot of ways to change the rotation, change the playstyle. Primal Instincts allows you to use Harpoon and Disengage as part of your rotation, almost like a Demon Huntering of your specialization of Survival Hunter, which will allow you to use Harpoon for crit and Disengage for haste in terms of a mobility type of fight. Imagine being in a PvP situation and healers are running away from you. You go on Primal Instincts will allow you to harpoon for crit and disengage for that haste in order to build up more of your focus, in order to maintain the pressure. I think it's part of the fun way of allowing mobility to become part of a playstyle rather than using mobility just to get away or close in at things. Bloodseeker allows your kill command to put a bleed on the enemy, and for every bleed you have out, you have a 10% attack speed increase, so which allows your kill command, which has a chance, 30% chance on its own to reset itself every time you use it. I think it allows a little bit more of a flexibility, more of an attentive playstyle, something where you kind of have to react very quickly, and it's kind of one of those things that ends up complicating your rotation, but you're making it more complicated in order to get more bang for the buck out of it. You make it more complicated, but you're doing more damage, which feels ever so rewarding. Mongoose Bite. This ability literally drives me up a wall, but this time they decided to make Mongoose Bite, how it costs 30 focus, it replaces Raptor Strike. So the ability behind it is you're supposed to stack Mongoose Bite a couple times. The first few hits are supposedly not that hardest of hitters. It's not like I can really test because I don't have the Alpha Blizzard, but the first few hits don't really hit hard. The other times end up really stacking. So if you're somebody who does value a playstyle of melee and does want to combine Raptor Strike and some energy building, focus building playstyle, you can to bring back a playstyle without really putting the specialization back into a crumbling shell that it was. Arctic Bola. It has a slow and it deals damage. And that's the best part. This ability actually deals damage. I feel like there's a lot of talents in World of Warcraft that are as slow, that is some kind of utility, but simply do not really hit as hard as they should. And I just like the fact that Arctic Bola is a ranged ability as an option for Survival Hunter, and it deals actual damage. Tip of the Spear sounds like one of the sex jokes, but really it isn't. It allows your kill command to stack up for a stronger Raptor Strike. So this gives you a few more different playstyles. If you're at melee and you're getting a lot of procs for kill command, your Raptor Strike gets stronger. But if you're somebody who does value to get into range or simply just cannot catch up to the enemy due to mechanics, you can use kill command in order to kind of stave off your melee ability, still kind of build up for a little bit of the damage, and once you can finally connect into melee, you can really utilize it, which allows the player to kind of make a decision of how long am I going to be able to stay at the enemy's face in order to deal damage, and this talent might actually be viable, again influencing more about what kind of options and what kind of playstyles would you rather have based on situation. Another way to complicate or at least change your rotation with an actual reward system to it. And if you're somebody who actually misses the melee aspect of Survival Hunter, you can grab Flanking Strike. Again, a way to complicate rotation by forcing you to be in melee when you use skill command, but it grants more damage and generates more focus. A way for player, again, to customize how they want to play, and I really cannot stress this enough. I actually really like Survival Hunter talent tree because it feels like there's a lot more thought process and a lot more customization than some of the other talent trees that I've seen so far. Overall, I would have to say that Survival Hunter is one of the specializations that I'll definitely be checking out. It is something I would love to play in alpha, but this is the best I can do right now. In this video, I simply want to show you guys exactly what the hell is going on with the specialization of survival. I feel like it's going to be one of those specializations that finally has its own origin. It is still a hunter. With all of its abilities, it still feels like a hunter. The flexibility, the mobility, the need to be at melee is simply not as present. You really should get into melee like the warrior you are, but let's say you're somebody who's been playing a hunter forever or range class forever, and you kind of want to try to dip your toes into what a melee is like. Survival Hunter is a melee on training wheels that still gives you the flexibility of range-based abilities and intense mobility, but still focuses on primarily melee playstyle, but it doesn't punish the player for not being at melee. It allows the players to have an option of some more range capability, but still it grounds itself back to, in the end, you should be at melee, you should be hitting your enemy. Here's some of the different ways you can get eventually into melee, whether you want to sprint into melee or kind of hover around the outside and then dip your toes in. I feel like it'll be one of the specializations that is simplified, that is going to be easier to play, that is going to be fun, and will allow so many variety of players, ranged and melee, to find a playstyle that they will enjoy. I overall feel like that this simplification of the specialization, which I'm usually against because I want harder specs, I want for the game to get harder, but in the long run, if the specialization is too complicated, not a lot of people will get into it. If it's not rewarding enough for the amount of effort you have to put in, not a lot of people are gonna play. And I feel like this change is a good change because survival needed some kind of a change. I'm not a survival hunter main, but from little that I played of the specialization, I can see major issues. And if I'm somebody who can play Outlaw Rogue and say, yeah, this is actually a pretty solid spec, there's basically nothing wrong with it, where a lot of the Rogue community would say is the worst spec ever, it needs to have a million changes, where it really doesn't. I do think survival hunter is one of the specializations that deserve changes, and I'm so happy that Blizzard is giving it some love. Same thing goes for a specialization like demonology, and I can talk and cover that in another video, but you guys can let me know if you want to see more videos like these where I simply give you a quick overview of what a class is going to be about in BFA. As always, if you guys enjoy this video or want to see more of this style of video, please go ahead and give this video a like. Likes allow my videos to reach a wider audience, grow my channel, and if you simply like this video and want to tell me, hey, I liked it, that would be great as well. If you guys want to see more videos like these, more BFA updates, more class coverage, more discussion videos, more 551s, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel in order to get all of the videos, 2 videos a day for free. It's really easy. Just hit the subscribe button and you get this type of entertainment. If you guys want to catch some of the live streams and maybe even join some of the streams like the 5v5 duels that we do from time to time, today's my day off, but Friday will be the 5v5 duels on EU. So if you guys want to participate, the best and the easiest way to participate in some of those duels and some of the streams is to simply tune in and join me as I'm playing the game. So go ahead and hit the notification bell down below next to the subscribe button in order to get notified every time a video or a stream goes live. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see all of you guys in another video.